of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on June 28, 2023, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com, published in the board's designated online media newspapers, the Record and the Star Ledger, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised that this meeting is being taped and may be broadcasted on local TV and online at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines the word meeting as any gathering, whether corporal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all of the members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of the members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. May we please have roll call?
Ms. Cho.
Here.
Mrs. Curry. Here. Dr. Baffanopoulos. Mr. Knight.
Here.
Ms. Morel.
I think she's here.
Here, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, and we have you present.
Yes.
Mrs. Victor absent. Mr. Rubino.
Here.
Ms. Sasu. Here. Ms. Colback.
Here. The board will be convening to executive session to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. The board will reconvene into public session at approximately 7:30 p.m. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Motion, Stasu, second, Morel, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are now in private session.
Okay, how do I get there?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on June 28, 2023, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com, published in the board's designated online newspapers, the Record and the Star Ledger, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised that this meeting is being taped and may be broadcasted on local TV and online at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines the word meeting as any gathering, whether corporal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all of the members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of the members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. May we please have roll call?
Ms. Cho.
Here.
Mrs. Curry. Here. Dr. Baffanopoulos. Here. Mr. Knight.
Here.
Ms. Morel.
She left. She there as an attendant.
Mrs. Victor is absent. Mr. Rubino.
Here.
Ms. Sasu. Here. Ms. Colback.
Here. We have a quorum. So first, let me apologize to the public for the late hour that we're starting. Tonight's private session went exceptionally long. It was not anticipated. The board had an HIB appeal hearing that it had to hear and decide, and then a residency hearing, two residency hearings. And so we apologize, those took much longer, and at least the HIB appeal has a definite timeline attached to it, so the board could not adjourn and undertake that at a different time. So the board convened tonight in executive session at 6:30 p.m. And in addition to the HIB and the 2 residency appeals that we heard, we discussed legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. Dr. Kravitz, will you share your superintendent's report?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. We are preparing the opening of our schools for September 7th. Administration started today with some training. We will continue this week. Next week is our new teacher orientation, and the following week we welcome our teachers. Rooms are being cleaned, orders of resources are arriving, and last-minute adjustments are being addressed. There have been some questions regarding air conditioning, and Ms. Messer, I believe, is going to address them now, regarding the buildings and the concern for air conditioning.
So this Wednesday, there'll be the startup in the west wing of the high school. So those are the classrooms, offices, nurse's office, the first and second floors in the front of the building, plus 4 rooms on the first floor facing the courtyards, rooms 162 through 164. By September 1st, both gyms, that's the old gym and the newer gym, and the locker rooms will be up and running with the air conditioning. It's expected to be. In the middle school, by the end of the week, the air conditioning at the gym should be up and running. And all the other schools, everything seems to be working as of today.
Could I ask that, so a lot of us receive inquiries regarding the AC, that you put in the minutes so that people that don't tune in or just, they could look at the minutes and see the update on the AC?
Okay.
According to recent Department of Education guidelines, that we are going to report our scores a little earlier this year as required. So Ms. Beko, if you want to present them now.
Thank you, Dr. Kravitz. Tonight I'll be presenting the results from the spring 2023 administration of the NJGPA, which stands for the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment. The statute requires, sorry. Here we go. Thank you, Ms. Ruggiero. The statute requires that the state graduation proficiency assessment be administered to all grade 11 students. The NJGPA is designed to measure the extent to which students are graduation ready in English language arts and math. The English language arts component, or ELA component, can you please go back a slide? Go back a slide. There we go. Okay. Next slide. Thank you. The ELA component is aligned to the grade 10 New Jersey Student Learning Standards. The mathematics component is aligned to the Algebra 1 and Geometry New Jersey Student Learning Standards. Next slide. Last spring, the New Jersey Board of Education set the proficiency level cut score for both ELA and math. Students who do not meet the minimum required score will have the opportunity to satisfy state assessment requirements through alternative pathways, which can include either retaking the NJGPA in the summer or fall, or through a second pathway, which is to meet a designated cut score from other assessments, such as the PSAT, SAT, or other assessments that you see on this slide, or a third pathway, which is to submit a portfolio appeal to the New Jersey Department of Education. However, the third pathway is only available to students who took the NJGPA and did not meet the required cut score. Next slide. This slide shows our participation rate. We had, out of the eligible students, we had 97.19 students take the English Language Arts Assessment and 98.95% of our students eligible take the math assessment. Next slide. Here we see a comparison of how Fort Lee's juniors, last year's juniors, scored compared to the state. You can see in both areas, Fort Lee students continue to perform above the state average. Next slide. Here you have a comparison between our spring 2022 and spring 2023 data. Now in spring 2022, the test was field tested, so it didn't count as a graduation requirement, but you can see that we had tremendous growth in English language arts and small growth in math. Next slide. This slide shows NJGPA math performance by various student populations. As you can see, while the majority of students in some populations didn't meet the cut score, in other populations they did. So clearly this slide shows that we continue to have some work to do in some areas. Next slide. Here we see the NJGPA math performance in other student populations. And you can see as the same as the last slide, while some populations, the majority of the students in those areas met the cut score in math, and other populations, they did not. Next slide. And we have the same information on the next two slides for our performance in English language arts. On this slide, you will see in all of the student populations reflected on this slide, the majority of the students in those populations were deemed graduation ready in English language arts. Next slide. And then here we have other student populations reflected in terms of their English language arts performance, and all of the populations reflected on this slide, most of the students in those groups met the cut score set by the State Board of Education in English language arts. Next slide. So based on those findings, what we gleaned was that Fort Lee High School students continue to perform above the state average. The graduation readiness increased from one year to the next. Math increased by 40%. English language arts increased by 40%. Math increased by 2%. I do want to say across the state and neighboring districts that the data is similar with regards to the differences between English language arts and math performance. When we looked at our NJGPA data, we noticed that support is needed in literary analysis and written expression. And in math, most support is needed in the areas of modeling and reasoning. Next slide, please. So in response not to this data, but also not to just this data, but other student assessment data that we've been looking at across the year, we are going to continue having department discussions to identify areas for improvement. We're also going to be taking a close look at our curriculum content and pacing and addressing our subgroup performance. We are going to spend this year taking a look at, as we did last year, looking at our STAR 360 ELA and math data to identify focus skills and standards. We are continuing to be committed to diversifying our text across our curriculum. We are going to be initiating and continuing a lot of professional development in terms of fostering our early literacy skills in our elementary students. Our SIOP training, which stands for Sheltered Instruction Operation Protocol, and that is a framework that traditionally is used to address our English language learners, but those instructional strategies are actually very much appropriate and applicable to any student. Differentiation methods and cultural competency, and just today our administrative team had a full day training in the area of cultural competency. We are going to be paying very close attention to our attendance because if our students don't come to school, it's difficult to educate them. So we have been having a conversation in our buildings to employ attendance recognition programs for our children. And we are discussing a math tutoring program, particularly at the high school level, and extra help sessions. And in addition to all of these bullets, next slide, please. We also, over the summer, made some changes to our high school intervention course. And so this particular course in past years always had mixed grade level students. So there were grades 9 through 12 students in this intervention course. We decided to change that to enable the teachers to provide more focused instruction by grade level. So the changes that we are implementing this year is that in grade 9, there will be a designated ELA and math combined full year course, and that's just for grade 9 students. There's going to be a grade 10 and 11 course separate for English language arts and math because the math courses that are taken are different, particularly can be different in those grade levels. And then there's going to be another course for grades 9 through 12 students that's going to focus on study habits and also providing students with support in their core courses with that coursework. So we are changing the structure of that course in order to provide more targeted instruction. Next slide. So we understand that while we're reporting on test scores, our students are more than just test scores. So we feel that it's important to also highlight other achievements at the Fort Lee High School level, since this is an assessment taken in high school. So in case the public, or I'm sure the board is aware, but in case the public is not, last spring, our Fort Lee High School Orchestra, under the leadership of Miss Mary Stevenson, the orchestra was performed at the New York Invitational Music Festival at Carnegie Hall. Fort Lee High School's orchestra was one of only 5 high school groups from across the country to be chosen for this event. A Fort Lee High School student, Janice Lee, is a member of the New York Youth Symphony, and the ensemble actually won a Grammy Award. The Fort Lee High School Marching Bridgemen earned their 2nd consecutive Tournament of Bands Region 10 Championship. In athletics, during the 2022-2023 school year, there were 11 league championships, one county championship. We had a 1,000-point scorer in girls basketball who led the county in scoring and was 2nd in the state of New Jersey. A county and state singles champion in girls tennis, 1 2-time All-American, a football championship, 5 school track records were broken, 4 Division I athletes, multiple Division II and III committed athletes, 1 full athletic scholarship, and their 3rd consecutive all-sports banner, and an athlete that competed for the National Track and Field Championship. And on the academic end, next slide, Fort Lee High School had 61 AP scholars and 65 AP scholars with distinction. The class of 2023 has earned acceptances to West Point and the United States Naval Academy, and Ivy League acceptances to Brown, Cornell, Harvard, the University of Penn, and Princeton, to name a few. And the 2023 graduating class earned approximately $1.5 million in scholarships, so we're very, very proud of them. And that concludes the presentation.
Can I ask that you put that on the website so that?
All of our data presentations are always posted on the website, yes.
Good, thank you for that, and Dr. Kravitz, thank you for your presentation.
I have one more, sorry.
Okay.
We received a letter after our last board meeting pursuant to the requirements of NJAC 6A30. The Fort Lee School District has done the New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuum, New Jersey CUSAC review. The Bergen County Executive, County Superintendent, and team conducted a review of the school district self-assessment on the district performance review document to verify the district's compliance with all 4 areas of NJCUSAC. Based on that review, the school district has been placed on a continuum in the 5 NJCUSAC areas, which are instruction and program, fiscal management, governance, operations, and personnel. The following scores were placed: instruction and program, 82; fiscal management, 88; governance, 100; operations, 98; personnel, 97. These placement results will be provided to the State Board of Education at an upcoming meeting. Please be advised that the New Jersey CUSAC regulations require the District Board of Education to report these placement results at the next regularly scheduled meeting, which we're doing. And I am pleased to inform you that the district has satisfied at least 80% of the weighted indicators in each of the 5 areas of the NJCUSAC review process and has been designated as high performing. The Commissioner will recommend to the State Board of Education that the district be certified as providing a thorough and efficient system of education for a period of 3 years or until the next CUSAC review. Congratulations to everybody on the team. Very proud of everyone working towards this goal. Thank you.
We have 3 walk-in resolutions tonight relating to the private session hearings that I referenced. The first resolution is 3B, and that resolution reads, therefore be it resolved that the Fort Lee Board of Education hereby reverses the findings of HIB investigation number 246675-LFC-04102-023, custom ID MS-26 for the following student. The student ID is 9877102393. And we have 4B is therefore be it resolved that the Fort Lee Board of Education hereby permits the following non-resident student to continue enrollment at the Fort Lee Public Schools until September 30th, 2023, pending guardianship appointment, and waives the district's tuition costs for the period until September 30th, 2023. Actually, we just had two walk-ins. Do we have any committee reports? Okay. Do board members have questions or comments on tonight's agenda or any other topic? Okay, go ahead.
I would like to speak about Miss Joanne Hong. If you've ever had the great fortune to have Mrs. Hong at school number 2 as a teacher, then you know what an incredible loss to district it is that she is retiring. When people ask me about her, I smile and say that I've had her not once, not twice, but 3 times, that she is hands down the absolute best of the best. When Ella entered Fort Lee District as a kindergartner, not knowing anyone, she was met by Mrs. Hong. To this day, she tells people that it was Mrs. Hong that started her on the right path. Ella had done a 10-page book report in kindergarten. Then she had her again in 3rd grade, and when Jake got to her in 3rd grade, she had become family. Jake is a tough cookie, and he says you were one of his best teachers, Mrs. Hong. Remember the Sour Patch Kids? Who could forget? Mrs. Hong, I can say with absolute conviction that you are one of the best instructors, educators, sticklers, and humans that I have ever met. You are a team player, you are an advocate for all of your students, and you are a very dear friend. Your ability to teach with such authority at such a soft tone is what makes you so very special. The kids listen and respect you, and we adore you. I know I speak for many when I say we will never ever forget our Mrs. Hong. We wish you only the best of everything. We don't say goodbye, but stay happy and healthy and enjoy your well-deserved retirement. Thank you so much for everything.
Anyone else?
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Just first thing, this on?
Well, let me just, on behalf of the board, Mrs. Hong, and I hope you dialed in tonight. We are all going to miss you so much in your contributions to the district. We hope, though, that you enjoy your retirement.
Okay, this on?
I think so. Try it.
Just a couple questions. Did everyone get to open the policies attached to the agenda by any chance? I didn't get to, it didn't work for me, so I don't know if that was attached.
I had an earlier, the policy committee met
Oh,
and
they had the
discussed, so
actual
I
policies,
was
okay.
able to see them.
So I didn't have those. Okay, and then with regards to the Eastwick education, how are we going to have students involved in that or chosen for that program? Or
We have students already sign up for the classes.
Okay.
So it's just like another class. It is a start of our vocational trades in our school district. So students will have a double period of that particular content area. So again, it's leading towards building maintenance, electrical, and plumbing eventually. But that's where the introduction program begins, vocational trades.
okay, great. And then just with regards to the Renaissance portion in the agenda, it looked like it was going to be a little over $300,000 per year. And just wanted to ask, you know, you had mentioned supervisors back in February, March, or the addition of supervisors. Would it be helpful to focus our funds towards that or to take on the Renaissance?
So the supervisor future, and you know, we haven't given up hope. We're just finalizing some of the things with our assistant, with our BA, to make sure, because the supervisory positions are long-term, you know, liabilities, making sure that the employees that we would hire for those positions would stay and we can afford them. The Renaissance products that we're looking at would they would replace some of the products we're currently using over a period of time, so they would pay for itself. So if we're using Program X, next year we might not use Program X, we will use Renaissance product in addition. And the idea behind it is that it's an entire suite that can help us identify and offer suggestions with students and teachers and parents as well on some of the remedial measures that the students will need, and also help for the gifted and talented students. So it's a full comprehensive program that allows for us to, it's called EduClimber and DNA. We're going to start to discuss this with our staff. We have some of those programs. Some of those programs now will be consolidated under one roof and one integrated system that communicates with each other to help us really make it, it will give a lot more time to people making the decisions for what the best things they're missing.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? I'll also just send a big thank you to our donors under 4F, some substantial amounts and some repeat. Anthony Papacivilio, it's Greek to me for our teacher orientation, and Renaissance, Pomptonian, our Fort Lee Education Association, and the Teachers Pension. We appreciate everything that you're doing to welcome our teachers and staff back, and making sure that their bellies are full.
Paula, sorry, there was just one more question. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Just, I had asked the last meeting about the right at school contract, and I think there was something that had circulated, but did we need to have that also on the agenda again to approve?
It's just an attachment. It was just the contract is approved, you can just do the attachment as a separate item, but the actual contract itself is okay, and you can send it as a copy of the contract.
No, but we didn't have the contract when it was approved by the board.
I think the other thing you're including with the prices so the parents know what they're paying, but we can send you a copy of the contract.
No, I have the copy of the contract now, but what I'm saying was when it was on the agenda, it didn't actually have the contract for the board to review.
Right.
So that's what I'm wondering if, or
So
are
I
we
think
just fine to go?
to answer your question, I don't think legally, and I could be wrong, but the way we understood it, so it's the same contract in existence except for the price list. And whether or not, the question that you asked last time was whether or not we have to vote on the contract again.
Well, because does it have to be
It wasn't
discussed,
attached.
right, I guess, if there's no discussion.
It wasn't attached, that I don't know if we found out if the contract itself had to be attached.
Did the resolution say that we were approving the contract with the following prices, or did it just say we are approving the following prices for, I forget the name of the vendor?
Right at school. I think it was approving the contract
And
for.
maybe we just add it to the next agenda as a safety.
Yes, we'll add it to the next agenda.
And I don't think that there's any urgency on the policies. There's nothing that is there, because we could carry those. I mean, those of us on the committee, I had hard copies and, you know.
She should be able to see that.
Pass it down to her.
It only gave you a certain
There you go.
amount.
Okay, so I went to the website, and the link that's in the agenda on the website actually works.
It doesn't work for me.
Really? Because I just checked and I was able to open it. Tonight is first read,
Okay.
so they'll be on the agenda for second read the next time. But I can give you my Elisa, my laptop.
Yeah, no, it just said that the file's in the trash, like whoever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it said.
Because I was able to open it on my computer.
That's okay, yeah, I'll, later.
But we will have, a second read, so there'll be an opportunity to.
Actually, what I can do is just forward the policies to the full board tomorrow.
That's right. Okay, may I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion.
Motion Stasu, second Rubino, all in favor? Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, we'll hear first from the members of the public that are present here in the cafeteria. Then we will take questions and comments from those participating remotely. For remote public participants, please select the raised hand button. Our district technology coordinator, Mr. Ruggiero, will recognize each community member in the order of the raised hands by lowering the hand. Please unmute your microphone, then state your name and home address for the record and begin your comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any members of the public here in the cafeteria tonight who wish to make a public comment? Good evening, Tanya.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Tanya Byers King, and I live at 275 Tom Hunter Road. Thank you very much for all of your work. Thank you, Lisa, for your service and your questions, and all that you do always. I have a couple things I wanted to bring up exactly on the policies. Actually, just one that hit me is the 3217, the use of corporal punishment. I just ask that you all look through that one and read it. The way it was written before was very basic, and I really like that as a parent. I like that it said that force or fear in the treatment of students was not to be condoned by the Board of Education. And I could be wrong, but I don't see that in the new way that it's written, and I'm not exactly sure why we rewrote the policy. Maybe it's, everything has to be, you can explain that to me in a minute, but because the fear part is very important for students, intimidation by, we have amazing educators, I'm not saying anything as a whole about the district, but there have been teachers who have been, who have abused their power, who have said to children, if you don't do this, or if you don't finish my class, I will ruin your GPA. I will do this. You are a curse word, or there's things that are not acceptable. And I know complaints have been made. I know that, so I really don't like that if that is how it's taken, that the word fear has been taken out, especially now since we're in the world of, we're trying to make safe places for everyone. Mental health is very important, and it's proven that mental abuse is more lasting than physical abuse, and so that's something that's very important. Also, I just had a question about the facility on Tom Hunter. If you could explain a little bit how it's going to work, and if the young students will be passing with the older students, or will the older students be out of the building most of the time? And then the last thing I wanted to ask is about the 9F. How does that, is that something that we've always been involved with, or how does that work? I mean, it's a wonderful thing, I just don't know exactly how it works. So those are all my questions, thank you.
Thank you. But we will definitely look at that policy
Thank
issue. We discussed it. I don't think that was something that we intentionally omitted, but thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we'll take another look at it.
So, thank you. The Tom Hunter Road project will have an 18 to 21-year-old program as well as the preschool program. The preschool program is an everyday program. The 18 to 21-year-old program, as you stated, a lot of those students will be out into the workforce. So they will not, all of them will not be there, but they learn life skills and other things that will go along with their daily routines. Again, it's an 18 to 21-year-old that our goal is to educate our students till the age of 21, those skills that help them live independently. So that they will not be interacting. Are they in the same building? Yes, two different levels. As far as 9F is concerned, so we are approving to participate in the community mental program, which is if there's a child that is deemed homeless, we end up, then there's a process that we go through, and then there's a whole, I don't know if you want to speak more about it.
No, it's not necessary. No, it's not necessary. When I saw it, I just thought that maybe that there was a shelter that was gonna bust in the city.
If a child, is deemed homeless and displaced, there's a process to go with the state that we are
No, that's a
responsible for
beautiful
them.
thing.
They can still maintain their
No, they need to,
education here.
yes. Thank
And
you.
I think this
I didn't realize it was so close to me.
So certainly we could take a look at the policy, but also there are additional policies that address the concerns that you raised, such as the harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy as well. So while the word fear may not necessarily be in that one policy, what you address is addressed in other policies.
Right, so the students are still protected from that type of
Correct.
behavior.
Correct,
So,
they are.
Okay, thank you. That's
You're
my
welcome.
major concern, thank you.
Sure. Michelle?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Michelle Perez, West.
Hi.
All right, I have a couple of questions. I had more, but it's late, so I'm going to not even only ask three of them. First, I want to say thank you. Actually, I believe it's Dr. Kravitz that started this, but for all of you to approve it tonight, the Eastwick Education, the electrical program, I think it's wonderful. There are not enough electricians in the United States. We need outside, we need engineers and electricians, and this is a great start. And I like that there's a path for students besides just being super awesome at top universities, because we're not all like that. So thank you. And I went through the, I didn't realize it was always listed, the, each class and
Can
the.
you talk, Mike, I can't really hear you.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'm so
Much
used to
better,
being
Michelle.
so loud and people telling me to be quiet, I'm sorry, I will talk this way. Online, you have all of the classes listed with the textbooks and the different units. And I noticed that some of them say outdated. I don't know exactly what that means or why we would be teaching outdated curriculum. So I would say second question, and there was something that Ms. Baker said, that attendance recognition programs, and I didn't know what that attendance recognition program was.
So very simply, we're just the same way, we're just looking to recognize great attendance
Oh,
of students.
Okay.
And we had a meeting with our building leaders and to talk about this. And so they are working within their own buildings to devise, perhaps monthly recognition for students.
Okay.
So I just put programs in there just to be broad.
Okay. Okay, no, that's great. There, and so I have other things that I can save for another meeting. If somebody could just explain what the outdated was, because I saw it in U.S. government politics, health, technology, phys ed, driver's ed. I didn't know what that was.
So I'll have to take a look at that.
Okay.
But I do know some of the dates on our textbooks look, and I was looking at that this year as well, appear older. Our teachers also use additional resources that are in our curriculum documents. They just might not appear on the textbook list. And so, for example, I will tell you high school social studies courses, they use other resources such as document-based questions, DBQs. They use other online resources for students. The textbook is just there to provide additional somewhat support if they need it, but they're not necessarily relying on the textbook
I don't know.
Regularly.
But
I will look I will take a look
Okay.
at what you're
because I
talking
don't know
about.
that it was the textbook that was outdated so much as the unit it was talking about, but I wasn't unclear. Okay, I'll look at it. Okay, and I'll save everything for another time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Amy?
Wasn't planning on it. Hi, thank you all for your service to the township and to the students, to the families. It's late at night, so I just wanted to make this quick. I was just looking at the curriculum that's published, the textbook. When I was in high school, some of the books are still on there, but there are a lot more variety and topics that are being introduced. I was a finance person myself for many years, and I hope that it would take into consideration Mr. Kravitz and others as we improve on these specialty subjects, that we dwell deeper into them and start recruiting alumni to help and really buttress these programs. I know that many of my peers are now in finance, and many of my classmates have gone into fields, it could be trades, but we all want to give back to our community. I think it's my point, and we would love to get involved with the school and help students. So to that extent, specifically finance is something I can speak to. The subjects that are taught are great, but I think it can be improved with more subject expertise inputs.
I think I hear she's looking for a job in our Academy of Finance.
No, not just finance, but even looking at the IB program in not finance. There was one other one out here.
Film?
In films or in whatnot, but just to have a wider breadth of subjects offered to students. That would be great.
Absolutely, and as we look at, just enhancing our programs, bringing back, we have students who are gone on to careers in media, television, that would be more than happy to come back and speak, so yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I can only speak to finance because I'm looking at the subject. Accounting, a grade they were offered when I was a student here. Student at other high schools are learning portfolio optimization. And that's where, that if you really want to excel in that subject, that's where you want to teach students. So I just want to point that out.
Thank you, Amy. Anyone else who would like to speak? Sophia? No? Okay. Do we have any raised hands?
Yes, Howard Lipoff, you have been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Second, I'm unmuting. I guess you could see me now. Hello, my name's Howard Lipoff. I live in 161 Main Street in Little Falls, but my main time is teaching at the school you're in now, Lewis F. Cole Intermediate School, and I'm the treasurer of the Fort Lee Education Association. I was able to open up the policy and regulations changes. I want to thank the board very much for changing the policy regarding sick leave. I know this was probably based on changes in state laws on this issue, but it's going to be very helpful to a lot of FLEE members. Many of us have sick relatives who need certain care, being taken care of, and we want to be able to do our jobs, but also in cases of emergency, also be there for our families. So I appreciate the fact that the board acted very quickly to change this policy. I hope that you will help FLEE in getting the word out so people will know. In the past, we had our 5 emergency days, 1 personal day, but sometimes when a member's family is very ill, a member of the family is very ill, those 6 days could go very quickly. So this opens another avenue for us to help our families. I think it'll be very good for the district, because if the workers are happy, then we could get the job done a lot better. So thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Howard.
Sophia, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I live at 268 Harmon Avenue. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I had a concern regarding the health textbook published by Advocates for Health. And I was looking at their website for target grade 2. My daughter starting grade 2 this year. She's 7 years old, and there are some concerning things on the Advocates for Youth website on what they're looking to teach the kids. And I just want to know if it's an actual textbook that's going to be given to the children, a piece of paper. Some of the things that is concerning, it says most girls have a vagina. Most boys have a penis. It doesn't seem very definitive to me. I don't understand why they have to use most. And then another thing that was concerning is on their website, when they're describing the vagina, it has a great elasticity to adjust to the size of a penis that will be taught to a 7-year-old. I feel like that's a little extreme, or very extreme. And I want to know if this textbook is something that is already in schools. It can be opted out for 2nd graders. Or, how can we go about parents who just don't approve in this wording, and then this Advocates for Youth, very left-leaning views with their wording and the way they, I guess their materials are on their website that I don't agree to.
Do you have any more questions, or is that?
That's it. I'm mostly concerned about that textbook and what's going to be shown to a 7-year-old.
Great, please, Lady.
Hi, so first, it's not a textbook, it's a website that has PDFs of suggested lessons. What you see on their website is not what we're doing. Their website is updated to the 2020 health standards, which we are not implementing. We are implementing the 2014 health standards, so we will not be using that resource. You see that resource in our curriculum because it was actually on our 2014 curriculum, but it's not something that we're using because they recently updated it. So we're using additional resources which are in our current curriculum online. So just because you see that resource doesn't mean we're actually using it.
Okay, and then
we're not using that. What you're seeing, we are not doing.
Okay, so just back to the actual publisher, Advocates for Youth. Does that always have to be used, or can we look into using another publisher?
No, we are not using it. We actually stick pretty much to Brain Pop videos and other websites. So we're not using that resource. We just have to have it there because it was part of our curriculum used years ago.
Okay.
But it was different at that time, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Do we have any more raised hands?
Yes, Yeti Park, you've been promoted to panelist. Please unmute your microphone and feel free to share your video. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Yeti Park. I live on 1624 A Feddersfield Street. It's a very late night, so I just want to say thank you to the board for your hard work for the school community. This is my very first time attending a board meeting. I have a child who will be entering school number 1. I had attended a planning meeting, or I guess the planning board 2 weeks ago, and there was a discussion about a new building that is under or planning to be developed on the south or the lower Main street area. It's planning to build a 172 unit residential apartment. And I believe that when that building goes up, the children who will be residing in that building will be going to school number 1. And my understanding is that school number 1 is almost at capacity, if not for certain grades, passing that capacity. So I'm curious as to whether the board has been discussing this and sort of what's the plan that may be under development or some discussions around this issue.
So I could tell you that the board gets notice of all the Board of Adjustment and the planning board meetings. I'm sure you're absolutely correct that you've heard something about a very large building of that magnitude. When we get notice, we discuss as a board. There are occasions where we retain counsel to attend and object on the board's behalf. We've even in the past contemplated hiring experts to testify on our behalf. And the last time that took place was a project near McDonald's, and it ended up not even going forward once our lawyer spoke with the developer, the applicant's lawyer. So we certainly will look into this. You know, we're obviously sensitive about class size and capacity, and we'll explore whether it merits the board taking a formal position at the planning or Board of Adjustment.
Thank you. It sounded like from the meeting on the August 7th that that they're really far into the process of approving this. And some of us actually brought this up at the meeting, and they said that there has been no communication with the Board of Education. And so I decided to attend this meeting tonight.
We appreciate that. Do you know, do you recall what the address was?
It is actually by the Coffer Lane and the River Road. there's an empty lot by the Copper Road. But I don't know the exact address, but it's right by the Copper Lane. It's Copper Lane.
Yeah, I think I know the area that you're talking about. We will definitely look into it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Are there any more raised hands?
There are no more raised hands.
Could I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Motion.
Second. Motion, Rubino, second, Curry, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Let's move on to resolutions. May I have a motion to approve items 1B through 4B?
Motion.
Second.
Motion, Curry, second, Rubino, roll call, please.
Mrs. Cho.
Yes to 1B, 2B, and
3B and 4B.
3B and 4B are the walk-ons.
are we just doing the walk-ons right now, or are we doing?
No,
1B
we're
to
doing
4B?
1B through 4B.
Yes, so I agree to 1B, 2B, and 4B, and I abstain from 3B. Correct.
She abstains to
Oh,
3B.
sorry, my mic not on.
Mrs. Curry? Yes. Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Sasu?
Yes.
Ms. Colback?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve items 1 CUR through 7 CUR?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Curry, second Stasu, roll call, please.
Ms. Cho?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry? Yes. Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Sasu?
Yes.
Ms. Colback?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve items 1F through 9F?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Curry, second Rubino, roll call, please.
Ms. Cho?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry? Yes. Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Sasu?
Yes.
Ms. Colback?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve items 1P through 15P?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Rubino, second Curry, roll call, please.
Ms. Cho?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry? Yes. Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Sasu?
Yes.
Ms. Colback?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve item 1 POL?
Once you making it, I'll do it again.
Motion.
Motion Rubino, second Stasu, roll call, please.
Ms. Cho?
I abstain.
Mrs. Curry? Yes. Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Sasu?
Yes.
Ms. Colback?
Yes. Is there any, moving on, is there any old business?
Actually, I just wanted to mention, based off of what the last woman just mentioned in the planning board, I did look up the agenda. It looks like there's actually 2 proposals, one for 172 units and another for 253 units. So there's 2 different dockets.
Same area?
Yes, and it's the same group, so the address is 90-100 Main Street. The other is multiple addresses, actually. It looks like, I'll send you the agenda, if that's easier.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And Robert, you could look into it for
Yeah,
us?
absolutely.
Any new business? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion Stasu, second Curry, everyone in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you all for coming out tonight. Have a good night.